see Zachary Levi is huffing the Air July paint.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. Are they gonna race swap him and cast him as Isom? That'd be great.
Somebody here says we need to get you a meeting with Eric July and the Rippaverse, just excellent comics without the BS, which is bullshit. They're not excellent comics. We're actually talking to them right now.
Oh my god. If anybody ever says Rippaverse is excellent comics, all that tells me is that you don't read comic books.
But my question is, what are you doing? You were playing another superhero for a comic book company. Now you're a superhero guy. Now you want to do your own superhero thing. You have literally only played in 2 movies as Shazam. Has he been another like major superhero that I'm forgetting? I know he played in Thor. He was in Thor, I think, for like 1 movie or something.
Right. Well, he was Chuck, and I think that's what.
No, he was in 2 movies, but yeah,
like as just fucking nerd guy. You know what I mean? Being in Chuck for several years, and then he was in 2 Thor movies, but he died very quickly in the second one.
Yeah.
Yes.
What could he possibly offer to the? I mean, the dude still has Shazam as his profile photo here.
I mean, I'm going for Isom all the way. Play Isom, please cast him as Isom. I would love to see like a fantastic.
I'm kind of down for that.
Wonderful movie of Isom with him.
You know, it makes me wonder, like, if you have flopped so hard that you have no career, what value do you get, or do you give to this company? Like, why would they want you to be a part of their company? He's been in flop after flop after flop after flop. The same thing that they say Marvel and DC is doing, that Star Wars is doing. Why would you hire someone who's been associated with a bunch of flops? Harold and the Purple Crayon, The Unbreakable Boy, whatever the fuck that movie was. Just flop after flop after flop. Why would you hire somebody unqualified, an actor that isn't good enough to be in a movie that makes a ton of money? Why would you want them to be associated with your brand?
Because they have nothing.
It's insanity.
That question extends to Will Jordan, one of the writers of one of these anthology stories that they're doing, right? Like he's got a pretty big flop short film that he did that everybody generally, even his own fans, think is pretty trashy.
I think it's shocking to me that that heel versus baby shit is writing something for a comic book for Eric July. Like, where did that talent come from? Is he a writer now?
Mahler makes a point of like, and it's like, okay, fine, it's kind of true, I guess. Like he says,
it's a good pause though, because I was going to say, did anyone else get struck by the editing's a little choppy in this trailer? Like it feels like it's one draft away from complete.
Then Az's response to that is,
it feels like they're cutting lots of stuff out.
Yeah,
of what's actually happening. So yeah, we're getting kind of like a really condensed. This scene might go on for 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was his fucking response to like. God. I mean, you know, that's definitely just stating a fact about what editing does. You know what trailers are, and then he thought he was saying something profound. Whoa. I guess.
You mean a trailer's a cut up version of the movie, just doing highlights? What?
The scenes are actually much longer in the movie.
Is he a writer? Because it's an anthology book. Eric can get anybody to write those things. Why did he pick heel versus baby?
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm actually almost want to congratulate Eric on not just getting Chuck Dixon to write all these short stories, because I swear to God, every time there's a new Rippaverse comic book written by Chuck Dixon, it's like, yeah, you're not getting anybody else, are you?
How it's blatantly obvious that Eric July is doing this because of the slipping sales of the Rippaverse, some of the underperforming things that he's put out there, and some of the DEI stuff that's going on, which I find incredibly obvious here. Ingrid Valdez, Girl Boss comic book from Alpha Core, coming out as part of this anthology, included in these stories. There's several stories in here. However, this is going to be written by heel versus Babyface. You heard me right. Heel versus Babyface is going to be the one writing a comic book for the first time with no credentials, no history of writing comics whatsoever. He is going to be writing a comic book in this anthology series. I find that wild, considering that these guys get on their shows, on their podcast, and they talk constantly about people getting jobs in positions who don't deserve it, who are incapable of doing it. Matter of fact, this takes me back to last year when Whoopi Goldberg was putting out a comic book, and these guys did an entire stream talking about it, or at least an entire video talking about it, where they spoke about how Whoopi Goldberg is she doesn't deserve to have a comic book because she's never written a comic book before. And all it's going to be is a bunch of bad stuff in this comic because of Whoopi Goldberg and what she stands for, the fact she's an older woman. How dare this older woman, this older black woman, come in and write a comic book? This is DEI. This is what we're talking about. This is everything wrong with comic books in the world. But here we have as someone who has no history in writing comic books or anything, who only got the chance to write in this book for Eric July because he spent the last couple years doing nothing but sucking Eric July's toes, being creepy with the Saska sisters, pretending like the Rippaverse is his favorite comic book company of all time. So of course, you're going to give him a DEI opportunity to come in and work on your comics. Now, it shouldn't be a big surprise because Az's channel, Heel versus Babyface, is actually performing better than Eric July's channel, which has lost another 1,000 subscribers since the last time that we looked at his channel.
You can pick up the softback trade paper.
The what now? The fucking what?
I know what Glenn Beck's butthole looks like.
Like, this shows that, for one, he can't get any more named comic book writers. He's
Nope.
hit his peak with Chuck Dixon and then Mike Barron or whatever. That's it. That's as far as he's going. Now he's got to kind of make a lateral move over to his YouTube friends with names. And then that's it, man. After that, he's got nothing else.
There's a lot of red flags with this anthology book, this Saints and Sinners anthology book. I mean, the first one is that he has someone like Heel versus Babyface writing a story. That's the first big red flag. But what it tells me is there is blood in the water. He's been seeing the declining sales of his individual books in terms of like total sales. Yeah. And I know people are like, well, if you combine all of them together, well, actually, no, each individual book has not done as well as the books that he was previously making. They just haven't. That's ISOM 3. I think, what is the first one was like 3 point something million. The second one was 2 point something million. ISOM 3 just barely broke 500,000.
Just so people know what we're talking about. Eric July is doing a anthology book called Saints and Sinners with fucking Heels versus Babyface, himself, of course, Mahler, Saska sisters, and Critical Drinker writing a story.
You know how funny this is? He just made an argument, not even 2 weeks ago, that Yellow Flash's subscribers and followers on Twitter do not mean they're going to buy things that Yellow Flash makes, which is a dumb fucking argument. But that was the argument that he made.
I mean, that would be his primary fucking customer base, wouldn't it?
Well, what's the correlation? Losing subscribers on his channel and losing sales on the Rippaverse. It's all correlating. However, if you were to say that social media following does not equal value, which is what he's saying that Yellow Flash's social media following, it's ridiculous to try and equate that to value when it comes to products being sold by Yellow Flash. So why the fuck do you have all of these YouTubers writing stories? Why would you have these guys writing stories? You would have actual comic book writers writing these stories if you wanted good stories. If that's the bar, right? Heel versus Babyface, the only thing he brings to this book is his YouTube following. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, using their logic, aren't there supposed to be a whole bunch of writers have been, talented white guy writers who've been cast out from the comic book industry and can't get
They don't want to work
now?
with these guys. Look, this is the problem with the Rippaverse. That, you remember last year, I think it was late last year, early this year, where Eric was complaining that a entire art studio turned him down because of the stuff he does on the internet, the stuff he says on the internet. He tried to pretend that's not
I wonder why.
Right. I think that has had a ripple effect on him. I think that's had a ripple effect in terms of the people that he can get to work for him. Because the problem is the people that work for Marvel, DC, all the bigger comic book companies, they don't see any value in working for the Rippaverse. There's no benefit for them to do it because it's just too much controversy because Eric July talks too much shit. They don't want to be a part of that. Why would anybody be associated with a guy that podcasts with Az? Think about that for a second. Why? And now he's reached the point where he can't get anyone else to write his books. So he has bit the bullet and he is putting Az in as a writer in one of his books.
Yes.
That is desperation. Az had to suck his toes for years to get this.
Like he's not even going as a writer. It's literally like he's credited as Heels versus Babyface.
That's what I'm saying. They're not even credited. Like actual writers either use a pen name or their real name. They don't use their. You know why he's using his YouTube name? Because he equates value of sales to their YouTube names, which is why his argument about Yellow Flash's book not selling because of his YouTube following is dumb as fuck. Why? That's why they associate it. That's why it's Critical Drinker, AKA Will, you know, and like Mauler and all these things. They're associating them with their YouTube following. It's like talking out of both sides of your fucking mouth. And this is DEI. This is inclusive. He is including Az because Az is his friend. This is DEI.
Woo! Bad faith criticism.
Are you a talentless YouTuber pretending to be an expert?
Do you have a tantrum when you're criticized for being totally full of shit?
Then the excuse you need is bad faith criticism.
So I saw somebody saying that it's ripping on the name of the Sinners movie, and I have to disagree. I have to push back on that. I don't think that's what it is, because I think this was probably in the works before that movie came out.
Yes.
And I think that it might actually be part of the reason that they didn't want to cover Sinners for SEO's conflict. Because if somebody, if they put this out and then somebody goes to search for Saints and Sinners, they might accidentally come across the video where they had to begrudgingly talk about this black movie that breaks all the anti-woke rules. And so, I mean, I don't think that's out of the realm of reason.
I also want to point out that Eric has done over the last year a lot of crowd control over the narrative that his company is exclusively anti-woke. He realizes that's not a good business model, which is something that a lot of people who do independent comics have said. They're exclusively making anti-woke comics. But Eric July realized there's a ceiling on that. You can only go but so high saying that. He wants to be a part of the system that he so blatantly goes after, like Marvel and DC and all these other companies. He wants to be a part of that system. He doesn't want to be a part of the independent comic system. He wants to be a part of the big boys. That's what he truly wants. He's doing everything in his power to cosplay as Marvel and DC. This is why he's releasing like 5,000 comics a month.
I think what he really wants is to just create the parallel economy of comics, and somehow he thinks he's going to actually compete enough to take sales away from Marvel and DC or whatever, and like make something that's somehow more successful than them, which is just fucking delusional as shit.
Yeah.
I'm
just, you're resorting to hiring heel versus Babyface. It's over. Game over.
Listen, I have no plans to ever read another Rippaverse book because they're just awful. But you know what? I will. If Lawrence Agnall does one, I will track one down. No reason to take a juicy.
I mean, the only good thing about this is we're finally going to see what Az can write, and it's going to be dog shit, and he'll never let it go. It'll never be let go. Everybody will always bring this up. He'll be the pronoun guy that wrote a shit comic. I wonder if there's going to be a lack of pronouns.
Yeah, there can't be pronouns in Chasing Ghost short story. No pronouns.
No hims, no hers, no they. Yes. No pronouns.
Every fucking conceivable opportunity so you can fucking current day us!
Let's check out the quote tweets. Y'all really bought that shit-butt-ass comic book, I'm crying. It's crazy people think this guy is anything but a libertarian scam artist. This is some of the worst paneling and framing I've ever seen. They break the 180-degree rule twice on the same page. How do you pull that off? The 180-degree rule states that you keep the camera on one side of the characters. Imagine a line through the center of the characters and do not cross the line. The 180-degree rule is meant to help viewers understand where things are in the scene. They trying hard to defend this, talking about, bro, it's a perspective switch. Crazy how the guy that's only known for being a racist pick-me and complaining about woke Marvel and DC probably made the worst indie comic of all time. Y'all donated money to the guy that can't even choreograph a fight scene well in a comic book. Missing a whole-ass Clash panel. Character positions are inconsistent, which interrupts panel flow. No sense of movement, and everything looks still. Remember, this guy was going off on how crap other artists were, from people in the major leagues to small indie artists, and flaunting that he was going to be the next big thing. Alan Moore was right. If you want to get good at comics, you just have to find the most dogshit comics you can get hands on. This feels like a fake comic you would see a kid read in some low-budget Hallmark movie. At least I'll always be a better comic creator than these idiots. This was the comic that was going to destroy DC and Marvel, by the way. I know some 10-year-olds who can make better paneling than this shit. So glad Isom sucks donkey balls so I can make fun of it. Who want me to show y'all how to make one correctly? Not surprised they keep complaining about comics are dead when the story and art they writing feels generic and lacking in choreography. Eric needs to improve sooner. Otherwise, it'd be a fever dream to have long-term success. This is still the best worst fight scene in comic history. He has to talk shit on everyone else in order to try and build himself up, because he knows deep down he's a talentless hack. None of these grifters are any good. All their creative endeavors fall flat on their face and are quickly forgotten. Good.